was going to ask you what classes or class you would say you learned the most from, or if not learned the most from, enjoyed the most, or what maybe challenged you the most.
So when I first got here, I was looking through the course catalog, and I came across this class called the Tea Ceremony in Japanese Culture. My mom used to work for Japan Airlines, and so we always had this plum blossom motif tea bowl in my room. And I never really knew what it meant or what it was about, so I showed up to the first day of class. And I never really got the memo that a 100-level class was easier than a 300-level class. So here I am on my first day of school in this 300-level seminar on the tea ceremony. And I'm the only first year because we did introductions. And there are like 3 or 4 juniors and 3 or 4 seniors, and that was it. It was Professor Sam Morris who was teaching it. And he handed out a bibliography. And I came from a big public high school in New York City, and I had no idea. I thought a bibliography was just something you put at the end of like your essays as like your sources. No, it was 5 pages of all of the books and articles and everything we had to read for the class. And I immediately freaked out. I had to petition to get into this class. So I begged the professor to let me in, and after he let me in, now I had to sit down with him and say, I can't do this work. And so after I sat down with him, he was understanding, and he said, you know, if you're not going to take my class, go take a different art class. So then I went to my advisor, Professor Gilpin, and she listened to me talk about my anxieties about why I didn't want to take the class. I was really just scared about the work. And she said, you're just a whiner, stop being a baby. I'm not going to let you drop this course. And so ultimately I ended up going to every single office hours with Professor Morris. It felt like at times I didn't know how to read because the idea about reading about aesthetics and about art was so foreign to me because I'd never done it in high school. And so it really pushed my thinking into a direction I never would have thought that my first year of college I would be thinking about a tea bowl's interaction with an incense container, a tea scoop, and the space in the tea house around it, and where the tea house was. And you know, by the end of the year, probably the best thing I got out of the course, besides a deep understanding of traditional Japanese culture, was this relationship with Professor Morse, to where I was frequently invited to his house for dinner, or just to have a conversation about, you know, Korean tea bowl aesthetics versus Japanese tea bowl aesthetics. Ultimately, that propelled me to study the tea ceremony in Japan when I went abroad. And there, even then, I had a good working relationship with his daughter, Catherine, who is the Amherst Voices Fellow. And so even with her, we had gone to different temples in Kyoto, traveled around East Asia together. And so this one kind of risk that I took of taking a class that, you know, the tea ceremony in Japanese culture that I never thought would have taken, had allowed me to not only go abroad, see East Asia, but build 2 really meaningful relationships, both with Professor Morse and his daughter, Kat.
Beautiful.
It's actually one course I took sophomore year, one course junior year, one course senior year. And the first course is actually a course called, in sophomore year, is a course called Race and American Politics with Professor Ashley Burns in the Political Science Department. And I think that was also the year that I started doing diversity work on campus, and I think that class, it was one of the first classes where I felt like my own experiences mattered, where I was able to talk about how my identity as an Asian American related to the political atmosphere of the class, of this world, of America. And it was basically able to connect what I do outside of class with something that I do within the classroom. So it's connecting the academics with the extracurriculars, which is something I never imagined doing. And then the second class I was going to talk about is Modern Political Thought with Professor Andrew Poe. As a political science major, I consider myself more of a pragmatic political thinker as opposed to a theoretical one. So I kind of hate reading about political theory. But it was actually not until the final moments before I turned in my final for that class was when I realized how amazing sort of like political theory is. Because Professor Poe, throughout the entire class, he always told us, relish in discomfort. Like just relish in whatever you don't understand. And then the last class is this year I'm taking, it's called Crime, Punishment, and Politics Punishment, Politics, and Culture with Professor Servet. And I think this is probably the most thrilling class I have taken because every single class I'm in, I'm 100% engaged. It's a 2.5-hour class. I just feel like it's the most engaging and thrilling class I have taken here at Amherst College.
Fantastic.
So I mean, I had the privilege of taking a number of really great courses in the LJST department, but the one that sticks out in my mind was the jurisprudence of occupation with Professor Hussein. And he was not only an incredible academic and thinker, but pushed me to excel in so many ways that I really hadn't received prior to taking his course. I think in that semester alone, I grew as a writer and as a thinker, exponentially. And he not only were the texts engaging that we read throughout the course, but his ability to synthesize information and to put them into comparison with other readings and events gave the class an incredible amount of color. And to this day, I really long to take more courses with him before he took his leave of absence and before he passed. But he was an incredible mentor for me and someone that really inspired me to pursue a number of kind of the academic offerings that I've taken since then. And he really was a tremendous educator and tremendous mentor and advisor. And his course was by far my favorite at Amherst.